Welcome to this week's episode of MLM Renegade. Today, guys, we're going to talk about perspective and how to make it work for you. So here's the million-dollar question. How are network marketers like us, who've tried everything their upline ever suggested to be successful, and yet still struggled, who grew up with technology and aren't stuck in the 20th century, how are we supposed to grow our downlines and our bank accounts, and yet still have time for real life? My name is J.R. McKee. Join me as we explore how to use 21st century learning and technology to grow our downlines and build lasting wealth. Simply put, this is MLM done different. Welcome to MLM Renegade. So this episode's been boiling for a little bit. You know, I keep notes of things, inspirations that I get throughout the week. I have this little this like miniature whiteboard on my desk. It's like 6 inches tall and 18 inches wide, and it sits up and it's right below one of my monitors. And I use it like a notepad, so I've got jot myself little notes, and then I can wipe it off, clean it up real easy when I need to. But I wrote down the word perspective as I was doing some studying the other morning and thought, I should really think about this and talk about it, because in our lives and in business, perspective is huge because it really does change the way that you react to things. The old adage is that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it, and that's perspective. And it's true. I try and tell my kids this when they're overreacting to something. I try and tell myself this when I'm overreacting. Rarely is underreacting a problem. In fact, in most cases, underreacting is probably the ideal, because if something bad happens, if something bad brews up and you underreact to it or you don't react to it, things don't get worse. Rarely do they get worse. Now, if it's a life or death situation and you need to react and do something physically, that's something. But if it's an emotional response, if it's a something that's mental, being able to breathe a minute and take a breath and step back and look at it with a different perspective really does make all the difference in the world for how we see things and how we view things. And so I was at a conference here, it's been probably a year and a half ago now, and there was a sales trainer who was there, a guy by the name of Myron Golden, and Myron is a genius and had some really neat things, and he was doing an object lesson, and with the object lesson, he said, okay, he handed everybody a penny, and said, okay, close one eye and hold the penny up close to your other eye. So literally all you could see was this penny. And I was up on stage, there's like 5 of us there. And so the perspective, all you can see is this penny. And maybe you've thought about this before, I remember as a kid, holding my thumb over a full moon, In fact, I remember in the movie Apollo 13, as they were getting ready to do that, Jim Lovell, who was one of the astronauts, was actually doing that. And that perspective, how he could take something so big as the moon and cover it up with just his thumb, and that was about perspective. Well, in this particular case, I was holding this penny in front of my eye. And so the only thing that I could see was the penny. And in front of me, directly in front of me, Myron is holding up $100 bill, but I couldn't see it. And the object lesson is so often we step over $100 bills to grab pennies. We're so focused on some of the things that don't matter that we miss the big picture. We miss the things that do. Now, Thankfully, I was able to get this object lesson, and as he was giving some prompts, and I was actually able to reach out a little bit blindly, because again, I had a penny in front of my eye, and reach out and grab the thing that was in front of me. And because I was able to reach out and grab it, I actually got to keep the $100, which was cool. But what I learned is that so often, little things, like a penny versus $100 bill, get in the way. Little things. There are literally 100,000 pennies in a $100 bill, right? And that is the opportunity there, excuse me, it's 10,000 pennies, not 100,000 pennies, 10,000 pennies. But the opportunity to miss the big picture when we're so focused on some of the minutiae and some of the things that just plain don't matter is the lasting impression that it left me with. And so I got to thinking about how my perspective gets altered and how my perspective changes over time when I'm presented with new information. We have lived for the last 4 years, really, in a very volatile political climate. No matter what your politics are, I think everybody can agree that the political climate has been volatile. And there's been definite players in that volatility on both sides of the issues. And one of the things that has given me perspective as I've looked at it is trying to understand where people are coming from. One of Stephen Covey's 7 habits is seek first to understand and then to be understood. In my profession in sales, I've been told many times that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I should use them proportionally. And my job really is to uncover opportunity with my clients where we can provide a service, or we can provide a solution to problems that they have or that they're going to have, and be able to head some of those things off of the past. And that comes with perspective, being able to understand that there is in fact a forest, even though I'm staring straight into the bark of a cedar tree. And as I've learned, it's funny, I've learned to take a step back. I'm reading a book right now, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Fantastic read. I wouldn't mention it if it wasn't, but he is like the FBI's lead international hostage negotiator. And he talks about different tactics as he's talking about negotiation and other pieces, which are what I find interesting, what I find fascinating. But one of the things he talks about is perspective and trying to understand where these people are coming from. And how he talks about a hostage negotiation in Harlem where he was able to get these hostages released and get these people who were holed up with guns, apparently, to walk out calmly with their hands up with no loss of life. And he said that it was the longest 6-hour standoff of his life because they literally said not a word to him. He was at their door talking about it as he talks about his FM DJ voice, or it's a smooth jazz sort of voice. And he continued to talk to them, said, "Hey, I know that I know that you must be feeling this way, or I imagine that you feel this," and talking about those emotions. And too often in our lives, emotions overrule our logic. Emotions are that penny that are in front of us that we get so riled up and so angry. And when we can take a step back and view things from a 30,000-foot view or beyond, we get that perspective of how little it really matters. So today, literally not 1 hour ago, I got an email from a gentleman that I work with who, be it known, I have a very hard time with. I have a hard time with him. And his role is in operations, and he was questioning how I was pricing a deal that I'm working on. And this deal is a longtime customer, and I thought I was actually I was going to have a hard time getting the discount that I wanted for them, getting a sufficient discount. And in turn, he responds back to me and says, "Well, why are you raising their price so much?" Now, be it known, they've had a contract with us for like 20 years, so we're not playing on the same level here. We're not playing on the same playing field. And I just I didn't get mad, though. What I did is I closed my email down, I went downstairs, I got a drink of water, I walked around my house, and then I called my boss. And I just laughed. I'm just like, what do you want? And I think we came up with a resolution. Obviously, it was an hour ago, so I don't know if we have a resolution yet. But the perspective that I was seeing with it, I was trying to stand back and understand what he was trying to accomplish and what he cared about. It's so much easier to get things done, to find success, to find those win-win moments when we're not worried about number one, when we're worried about everybody else first. That selflessness is hard. That selflessness is taught. And for some people, it's very natural. For my wife, incredibly natural. She is at her finest. She loves to serve those around her. That is her love language. That's how she shows love in our house. In fact, here just on Valentine's Day, over the weekend, she put together the most incredible spread of a Valentine's dinner for our entire family, for all our kids, for me, obviously for her. She made this incredible cake that she was so excited about. Had frosted it with ganache and all. I literally think I gained 5 pounds just looking at it. But the point was, that's how she wanted to show. Now, she slaved literally for a day and a half on doing this. And the way that I knew that I could show her my appreciation for it is I did the dishes. And in fact, literally told her, no, go sit down. I will handle this. And I'm pretty sure, and she said this, so I'm not in trouble by saying it, she dirtied basically every dish in the house. And but I did that. That's how I could show. That was how I could show empathy and love in return for what she had given me. And too often, when we're not seeing things in perspective, when we're not seeing things as they truly are, but we're seeing them through that lens, through that little penny in front of the eye, we're so worried about the only thing that we can see in our world, the worldview just condenses, that we're seeing things wrong. And if we seek first to understand and then to be understood, our worldview opens up. I have friends that I grew up with who are on the opposite aisle, or on the opposite side of the political aisle from me. And some of the things that they say, I look at and I question, and that's interesting. Now, I don't engage online. I've wanted to. I can't count how many times I have engaged and then deleted my comment before actually posting it, because I'm like, you know what? I stopped and I got some perspective. And trying to understand another person's perspective, frankly, is the most wholesome thing that anybody on this earth can do. If we can see another person's perspective, we can live in harmony, even if we don't agree. And that is really what we're all searching for. We're looking for a way that we can harmonize with one another, how we can see each other as we truly are and accept each other for who we truly are. And you know what? Sometimes we don't have to like that. You know what? I find lots of people online that you know what you're saying, I just don't want to hear. So I'm not going to listen. And that's a choice. And that's a perspective that I have, that I don't need that sort of negative influence in my life or negativity in the way that I view the world. And so, you guys, take a look around, see the forest and not just the trees. Enjoy the beautiful colors in that forest. Enjoy the perspective that you get when you're willing to take a step back, take a deep breath, and try and understand what's being communicated to you instead of just reacting to it. And your world and your life will be so much the better for it. That's all I've got this week, guys. I'm excited for the coming weeks. We've got some neat things coming, but please, thanks for those of you who have reached out and with encouragement. I really appreciated it, and I really look forward to hearing from more of you soon. Go make it a great week.
Hey, thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe. And if you loved us, leave us an awesome review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Now, if you'd like some free training for your team on how your recruiting efforts can be bettered and brought into the 21st century, go to podcast.mlmrenegade.com and get your copy of the Renegade Recruiting Kickstarter.